we're going to talk about this student loan cancellation block. Before we get into this, I do want to remind you guys, we tried to warn you. We really tried to warn people. There were a lot of people that were cheering and really excited when Joe Biden chose to cancel $10,000 to $20,000 K student loan debt for borrowers. And we did warn you that this could happen, that a federal judge could block it. Let's get into the article. I have a couple of clips to show you about this as well, because it wasn't just me, it wasn't just RBN, but Brianna Joy Gray warned you multiple times. So let's go into this here. A federal judge just struck down Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, the most serious legal setback for the debt relief so far. Let's get into it. On Thursday, U.S. District Judge Mark Pittman, appointed by former President Donald Trump in the Northern District of Texas Court, ruled that Biden's plan to forgive up to $20,000 in student debt for federal borrowers making under $125K a year is illegal. See, this is what, I would be more, I think I would be more disappointed if I didn't already kind of anticipate this happening. And I think that's why I'm not as disappointed as some people. A lot of people are very livid today. I've seen it all over social media. People are pissed. But we warned you that this could happen. Let's go back in. This was in response to a lawsuit filed by two student loan borrowers, Myra Brown and Alexander Taylor, represented by a conservative group, the Job Creators Network, who sued because they were left out of debt relief. One of them didn't qualify for the full $20K because he didn't receive a Pell Grant, and the other didn't qualify because she had commercially held loans. And this is exactly why I told you guys when it was first announced, do not means test it. Couple of things happen when you do that. When you means test it, first of all, it makes the process more complicated. Two, it drags the process on. It delays it. That means that gives other people time to come in and shut shit down. Three, people who were left out get pissed. They get pissed. And that's what happened here. They were angry. They were pissed. They were left out. I also didn't think it should just be federal student loans because people take out private student loans as well. Some of those people weren't happy that they weren't included. Then there were other things that they added along to it, saying that if your loans weren't consolidated by the time that was announced, then you weren't included either. This is why it should never have been means tested. He should have just canceled all of it in one big swoop and just kept it moving. Let's go on. They claim that issuing broad student loan forgiveness without going through the typical rulemaking process violated the Administrative Procedure Act notice and comment procedure, which requires an elected administrator to justify rulemaking to the public. This ruling is the first of its kind so far amid at least 5 other major conservative lawsuits that are also attempting to block student loan forgiveness. The Education Department will likely appeal this decision. The court has correctly ruled in favor of our motion and deemed the Biden student loan program illegal. The judge criticized Biden administration program, calling it one of the largest exercises of legislative power without congressional authority in the United States history. The ruling protects the rule of law, which requires all Americans to have their voices heard by the federal government. It also comes as the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals already placed a temporary stay on the debt relief until it makes a final decision on its legality, in response to a different lawsuit filed by 6 Republican-led states, which argued debt relief would hurt their state tax revenues. This department has maintained it has the authority to cancel student debt under the HEROES Act of 2003, which gives the education secretary the ability to waive or modify student loan balances in connection with a national emergency like the pandemic. But as Pittman wrote in his ruling, no one can plausibly deny that it is either one of the largest delegations of a legislative power to the executive branch or one of the largest exercises of legislative power without congressional authority in the history of the United States. And having interpreted the HEROES Act, the court holds that it does not provide clear congressional authorization for the program proposed by the secretary. The Justice Department had previously pushed back on the plaintiff's claims, arguing that the HEROES Act doesn't require notice and comment. It goes on to say here, Biden recently said 26 million borrowers have already applied for debt relief. And as of last week, the Education Department had approved 16 million of them to have their loans discharged. It has not yet commented on whether it will extend the student loan payment pause amid these lawsuits, which is currently set to expire December 31st. This is a nightmare. This is an absolute nightmare. They really messed this up. And we warned you that this would happen. And I believe they knew that this would happen. Yet Joe Biden is going on these media tours and he's talking about, well, we didn't have a red wave. Meanwhile, this happened. And you're losing the House. So good luck getting the congressional support. After December 31st, the loans go back into repayment. That needs to be extended immediately. Immediately. This is a problem. Now, the article goes on, but there's something else that I wanted to show you, because if you go to the website, I want to show you what you are going to see. And so, yes, unfortunately, if you are one of those people that did already qualify and you already completed the application, it's not going to happen. So you are being rejected. And I'm going to show you what happens now if you go onto that website. Now, Philip Lewis, he shared this and I checked it out. This is exactly what you see. If you go to the website now, it says student loan debt relief is blocked. Courts have issued orders blocking our student debt relief program. As a result, at this time, we are not accepting applications. We are seeking to overturn those orders. If you have already applied, we'll hold your application. We will post information as soon as further updates are available. So if you already applied, they're overturning it. They're overturning it. So you're not grandfathered in, just FYI. I had to question the timing because a couple months ago, I told you guys, watch Joe Biden wait until we get closer to the midterms and then decide whether or not he's going to cancel a portion of student loan debt, which is exactly what he did. He did that on purpose to encourage turnout in the midterm. And Gen Z showed up. They really showed up, not as much as they did in 2018 midterms, but they did show up. And I'm pretty sure canceling some of that student loan debt may have had something to do with that, along with the overturn of abortion, right? The midterm elections were this week, Tuesday night. Today is Friday. The same week of the midterms, right after the midterms happen, this is blocked. So I have to question the timing. I really have to question the timing of it. And I will also add, I think this was on purpose, the way that this was done. Why wasn't this blocked before the midterms? Huh? Anybody ask that question? Why wasn't this announced before the midterms on Tuesday. We're not talking weeks later here. We're in the same week. Why wasn't this canceled? Why not? Why? Because they knew it would hurt turnout. So I have to question the timing of this. I really have to question it, that this was released after the midterm elections. So here you have all of these people that came out to vote and support and to help the Democratic Party. They showed up with the numbers. And this is how they're treated. This is an absolute joke. This is also embarrassing as fuck. But I tried to warn you that this could happen. And here we are. So a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are upset. And when I saw a lot of people in indie media reporting about this when it first happened and he said he canceled it, they weren't talking about the implications that could happen with this. I noticed this. Most of them weren't. Some were, most of them did not. And they got their viewers all excited and yay, ready to go. And they didn't tell them what could happen after. And I think that was a mistake. So people are pissed, and rightfully so. What about the people who only had $15,000 of their student loan debt left? What about the people who only had like $9,000 left? And they were excited. Yeah, this is going to get done. I don't have to deal with this. What about it? It's embarrassing. It really is. And I haven't heard anything from the Biden administration about extending the pause for the payments. So once again, the Democratic Party, and I hate this, but I got to do this. Once again, the Democratic Party, they played you. They played the voters again. This is what I mean with the crumbs. You give them the turnout, then they ghost you. Joe Biden knew that this was a possibility. This is not the first time that this was mentioned. Not at all. In fact, it wasn't just me. It wasn't just RBN that told you this could happen. Breonna Joy Gray told you it could happen. And see, here's the thing. If people would have just, I don't know, watched this episode, and this episode, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this happened 2 months ago. They warned you. They told you what was going to happen. If you did not get a chance to see it, listen to what they say here. Listen to this.
I think the Biden administration could lose this 9-0. And instead of running against the Roberts court, thinking it's a win, I think it'll be an embarrassment that actually frustrates, that alienates the base, because it says you were incompetent. And that's my real concern here is I have to be, this experience of finding this problem has made me a little more cynical about what the goals are here.
Welcome to the club.
Well, yes. I mean, I wish I could say that I wasn't pessimistic when I wrote this piece, because the subtitle was optimistic. There's time to fix it. Mm-hmm. There is time to fix it. But I guess if there's anyone out there who's working in the Department of Education, and you left your job somewhere, you left your job in some other education department in some state, or you left a job in the private sector because you wanted to get things done, but you weren't so worried about getting a couple more purple state Democrats into some districts in 2022. If you want to listen to how to actually get student debt relief done, take one more year, get it done through the Higher Education Act, and you have a shot at it winning.
And to that point, thank you for the super chat, Colin. This is why Biden should have used the Higher Education Act instead of the HEROES as a stronger basis to forgive student loan debt. 100%. Again, this conversation took place 2 months ago. So it just, the material was there. The information was out there. And I'm going to show you another clip too that shows you the information was out there. And it was crazy to me that people were not mentioning this.
To be clear, the Higher Education Act would allow the full scope of the $10,000 to $20,000 and for everybody under 125, like the plan that Biden set out now?
I mean, honestly, there's nothing in it that requires means testing.
Or more. Yeah, like obviously I want the whole shebang. So that's another reason to want to pursue that route for those of us who are still holding out for full debt cancellation.
That's right. Brianna, I've got a lot of progressives wrote to me privately or said, there were a lot of progressives who were mad that I was saying this. Like I had some secret that, wait, you think that there isn't a conservative lawyer who already saw all this, but they don't want to write it in the Atlantic because they're holding on to it. The conservatives are probably mad that I'm suggesting the Higher Education Act, but progressives said, thank you.
This was the thing too. The feedback that we received when we were talking about it in this way. I can't speak for Bree, but I know when we said this, people, Twitter is such a weird place. People on Twitter are like, you guys are being so pessimistic. Why can't you just give Joe Biden credit for something? Look, you think I wanted this to fail? I have student loan debt, a lot of it. I did not want this to fail, but it was irresponsible for people not to know what was going to happen. And people got mad at me because I was telling you, by the way, federal judge can strike this down. People got mad at me. Would you rather not have that information? You don't want to know? This doesn't make any sense. That is so stupid. And now those same people are really angry today, really upset, really pissed. And I hate to say it, but I told you so. And yet here we are. Here we are. Now, someone just mentioned something I think is really important, where he says Warnock may pay the price for this in the runoff. And it seems like to me, instead of doing this the proper way through the Higher Education Act, it seems like to me, Joe Biden used the HEROES Act because that was, or it seems like that was the faster way to get it done. And he was trying to get encourage, I can't talk tonight. Sorry. I told you I had a long night last night. He was trying to encourage voter turnout in the midterms. So, okay, let me just do it the faster way instead of taking his time and doing it through the Higher Education Act. And we probably wouldn't be in this situation. But here we are. Here we are. And like I said, Dems are losing the House. So how are they going to get any type of congressional support for this now? So I find it hard to believe. Look, a lot of people right now feel played. They feel used because once again, sold a bag of goods to get us to come out and vote. And then you do this to us. But there's another clip, another one. I just want to show you guys these because I really do feel like I'm trying to tell you the information was there. There was a clip on Rising. Now, Bree shared this as well. She's been sharing a lot of clips today. Just to let people know, I tried to tell you guys. This is a clip here from Rising where she says Biden could have immediately canceled student debt instead of making it a means-tested program, in which case there wouldn't have been those opportunities for people to obstruct. Listen to this piece.
Cost of college problem.
Look, I agree. You need to fix the cost of college problem. But look what happened to the Democrats who took that line as opposed to the Democrats that supported Joe Biden's policy. Tim Ryan lost in Ohio. He came out strong against Joe Biden's student debt relief policy, saying that it was unfair to the people of Ohio to cancel debt for this population. And Cortez Masto, who was struggling to make up loss, coming up from behind, said that she disagreed with the White House's blanket forgiveness policy because it does not address the underlying issues with college affordability. She said, quote, "I don't agree with today's executive action because it doesn't address the root problems that make college affordable. We should be focusing on my legislation to expand Pell Grants for lower income students, et cetera, et cetera." Okay, I completely agree that there needs to be a more comprehensive approach here. But instead of saying yes and actually fighting for a more comprehensive approach and saying, if Democrats stay in power, this is what we're going to get, they naysayed, said no, painted themselves as enemies of the kinds of programs that really help a lot of struggling Americans. A huge number of people in her district, 11%, I believe, of her district have student loan. And I bet as she is trailing by such a small margin, she wishes some of those people had come out with her because of her enthusiasm.
But I guess the devil's advocate.
Yeah, because Tim Ryan, for those who are not aware, Tim Ryan lost and he was against the student debt cancellation. So there's that.
The argument is there. I mean, you saw the polling for student debt forgiveness. Yes, maybe she would gain voters among young voters if she supported it, but theoretically could have lost people on the other side of that. I mean, we don't know.
The theoretical voter who was otherwise going to vote for the Democratic Senate candidate, but for their support of student debt cancellation.
I mean, that was the calculation they made, I guess.
And I think that the proof is in the pudding. And, her not, expecting not to come out on top probably in that race, and Tim Ryan's colossal failure tracking with low youth turnout shows that there are consequences. So Democrats and Republicans alike spend a lot of time pandering to homeowners, pandering to, frankly, people who are much more economically affluent, tax cuts that overwhelmingly benefit the rich. At the same time, they ignore working class population, students, and others that have been left behind. And I think this is a real moment for working people to realize that their votes matter, and that if they are able to leverage their vote and show that they're willing to turn out when they're actually given policies that benefit them, then they will get stuff in return. The only question now is whether or not Joe Biden will actually follow through on his promise to, in fact, cancel the $10,000 to $20,000 for the poorest Americans that he's promised to cancel.
What do you mean follow through? That's what he's doing.
Well, it's been held up in the courts.
Well, right, but he can't do anything about that.
Well, he could have immediately canceled student debt instead of making it a means-tested program, in which case there wouldn't have been these opportunities for people to obstruct. And that's...
You hear that? There wouldn't have been those opportunities for people to obstruct. Because when you means test it, it takes longer. It lengthens the process. That's why I said this was on purpose for him to means test it in the first place. That's why I was like, why are you means testing it? Just give it to everybody. Just do it. But it delays the process and it gives time for other actors to come in and block it. He did not go about this the right way. He really didn't.
What a lot of the student debt advocates have been saying, that he's basically set it up to give himself an out if he wants to. Now, it looks like there's a...
So that was another clip where they talked about this. They talked about the means testing. They talked about, the danger of that. And here we are. And I'm just sitting back, like I said, question the timing. Okay. For people who are like, oh, you just don't want to give Biden credit for anything. No, like I call it like I see it. Question the timing. He did the cancellation before the end of August. Okay. So enough time before the midterms so people can actually start applying and filling out the application. Enough gap for that. And then right after the midterm elections this Tuesday, this week, the judge blocks it. You can't help but think it was on purpose. You cannot help but think that this was done this way on purpose. And if you think I'm pessimistic, then just think I'm pessimistic. But when you look at the timeline, it is very suspicious. Very suspicious. And I just think of all those people who came out to vote, partially because of that, the younger people, the Gen Z group that showed up heavily. And then this just overturned. Just like that, just blocked. And then people wonder why the majority of Americans don't vote. Because they see these politicians make promises every time, every election cycle. And every time we're told this is the most important election of our lifetime, that same line, we come out, we show up, we vote, and then they screw us over. They didn't even wait 2 weeks to screw us over. The same week. So there's a lot of angry people. There's a lot of frustrated people. I know some people financially are trying to figure out what are they going to do now. They have not extended the pause on the student loan payment. So this is going to be, I don't know what is happening. I don't know what's happening in that administration, but they haven't extended it. And I really think, I know he just did a press conference about the midterm elections, but I think Joe Biden needs to do another press conference and he needs to address the public about this. But you got a lot of people excited. You excited a lot of people. So shout out to those that did the due diligence and told people what could also happen after it. Sun Moon, Biden, here's your crumbs, but give them back. There you go. My advice to those of you who are trying to decide if you want to go to college, if you can't afford it, and the only way that you can go is to take out student loans, I have two suggestions for you. One, if you can do so, because not everyone can, study abroad in a college in a country that has free college, like Germany. It's free for Americans too. Or go to community college. And I know it's not sexy or whatever, but go to community college for the first 2 years. Then maybe transfer to a 4-year university so you don't end up with so much debt. Or 3, I'll add a third one, go to trade school. That's my advice for you. But you don't want to, I'm telling you from experience, you don't want to end up like me. You don't want to have all this mound of student loan debt, because it's a burden and it really sucks. It really sucks. That's my advice to you guys. Try not to take out those loans. Thank you for the super chat, Roger. On purpose, remember who authored bankruptcy law. That's right. That's why he needs to be the one to make it right. That's why he should have just canceled all of it. This is all on him.